Well, thank you very much, first of all, for having me here today. I'm very happy to be in Athens again, and I'm very happy also with this conference, and which is extremely timely at the start of the European Year of Skills, and which is obviously also important for Greece, but for the whole of the European Union. Let me start maybe with a bit of good news. You may have seen the winter forecast, winter economic forecast that the Commission brought out earlier this week, and this should give all of us a lot of hope. The economy is doing a lot better than we feared at the start of the winter. We're doing okay on energy. Inflation seems to be peaking. Unemployment in the European Union is at an all-time historic low, 6.1%. I know in Greece it's higher, but going down as well. And I think it's important when we discuss skills and all the challenges and all the difficulties to be hopeful. We're actually doing pretty well in the European Union, looking at the challenges that we're confronting. Least of all, of course, not the war in Ukraine. And I think it's important to always keep that in mind. There are challenges, but we are doing quite well. And if we continue along this path, we will, I think, come out of this stronger and better. Having said this, I mean, the challenges in the area of skills are enormous. We've heard the figures in Greece. Greece is not doing all that well compared to the others. But I don't want to labor that point. I think it's important for me to give you the message that all of Europe has this problem. Okay, Greece is doing less good than others, but it's not that there's a happy story in other member states either. Huh? So we have, from business sides, 70% saying that they cannot find the people with the right skills whom they want to recruit. 70% of EU businesses. We have 35 to 40% of the jobs potentially being impacted by the digital and the green transitions. We are all confronted with a demographic trend. That means we will have less people, substantially less people in the labor market already by 2030. This is already visible. So the challenges are there. And this, as I said, in Greece, the figures are a bit less than on average. Leaders in Europe are very much aware of this. I'd like to recall the targets that were set at the special European summit in Porto in 2020, whereby to which all member states have signed up, that 60% of the people who have a job should be trained at least once every year. 60% once every year into training. The figure in Europe is now 34%. So there's a long way to go, by 2030. This is the official target. And every member state has given its own national targets. And then if we add everything up in Brussels, we will actually achieve the 60%. So this is an endeavor that we share, all of us together, and not only in Greece. What are we doing? There is, as Vice President Skinas already mentioned, there is already a skills agenda, which is at the heart of this Commission. And on top of that, we have the European Year of Skills, announced by President von der Leyen in her State of the Union speech. It's essentially a call for action, an alarm bell that goes off, that we need to invest more, do more, to make the transition successful. And this will not be possible without additional investments in skills. The Commission has made a proposal what this European Year of Skills should mean. There are 4 strands, focusing very much on the labor market. And this is a very important point. If you talk about skills, it starts already in kindergarten. It ends with old people that need to operate an iPhone. All of this is important. But if we want to have a European Year of Skills that makes a bit of difference, then we should focus on the labor market. Focus on what you, Minister, and you also, Governor, mentioned. This is, I think, the essential thing, reskilling, upskilling in the labor market. And that is not a given because the trilogues have now started. It's not because the President of the Commission announces that's the Year of Skills that it automatically happens. She may think this, but it's not correct. It actually requires a legal act of the Parliament and of the Council of the European Union, and the trilogues have started. And of course, there is a tendency to widen it. And I would caution very much against this. So focus on the labor market is essential, with also an interesting dimension of migration from third countries, which I would like to mention as well. It's not to say the panacea solution, migration from third countries, legal migration, but it is part of the mix, and it is also part of the Year of Skills. And here we are talking about selective immigration, with people with the right qualifications who can fill the gaps in the labor markets that are there. The European Commission is going to come with a proposal at the end of the year, what is called a talent pool, which would be essentially an IT system whereby employers, businesses can find people from third countries who have the right qualifications. This is necessary because inside the European Union, obviously in the internal market people can move, but we look at the numbers that actually the number of movements between EU member states is going down. The biggest move is people going back to the country they came from. Brexit has an important role to play here, of course. I think something like 3 million people less in the UK from EU member state than before. About 13 million Europeans work in another member state than they are from. But this is going down because the potential of people in Europe is going down and because people go back. And this is in a way also good news, that the people from Poland, from the Baltic states, can go back to the country because the living standards there have risen a lot, which is also hopeful. It means that the convergence in the European Union actually still works. To make it a bit more concrete and to sum up, we have a lot of impressive action here in Greece. There are these 40 organizations that are part of the large-scale partnerships that were mentioned, partnerships for skills. We have in total 14 of these big partnerships now in Europe, and they are essentially trying to bring together all the main actors. So this is business, social partners, schools, education, regional authorities, local authorities, because it's there where the changes have to be made. It's not from Brussels that we can do this. And these partnerships are really important because it's there where you will know the business from a particular region, we need this kind of skill. And how do we get the people? By talking to the schools in the region. We are supporting these partnerships, and I think they are quite promising. In total, there is a commitment from all these companies there to reskill and upskill 6 million people by 2030. In the Green Deal Industrial Plan, as it is called, which was announced by the Commission in February and now also confirmed by the European Council a few weeks ago, you can also see the importance of skills. The Green Deal Industrial Plan is much wider, but it has 4 pillars, and the third pillar is skills. And let me just read out what the heads of state and government said on that account a week and a half ago. They said, bolder, more ambition action is needed to further develop the skills that are required for the green and digital transition. So it's really a call to all of us from the highest level to do more. What we are going to do, put forward in March, concrete proposals for this. I can mention a few very briefly because my time is up. First of all, it's called Skills First. Skills First, what does this mean? This means that it should be possible for a business that is looking for a particular person with skills to recruit that person, even if the exact diplomas or qualifications are missing. It's very important because we notice that many of the problems come from the fact that diplomas are not recognized, that qualifications are not in order, that the right level isn't there. We want to break that obstacle by pushing member states to allow people to recruit on the basis of the faith they have in the person, subsequently to be retrained and eventually getting the qualification, the formal qualification. I think that's very important. I mentioned already the talent pool from third countries. More aid, financial aid, state aid for small and medium enterprises, because that's where the problem are. 96% of Europeans actually work for small and medium enterprises, and I think in Greece it's probably even more. I'm not so worried about the big companies. I mean, they do pretty well. They have their own schools, universities. It's the small company. If you have a company of 5 people, okay, upskilling, reskilling, fine, but how? How are you going to do that? You cannot lose a person for 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why we want to make it easier and help them in particular. So these are the main points. Of course, the very impressive reforms that have been put in place by this government, I do not want to leave it unmentioned. The reform of VET schools, introduction of individual learning accounts, very important, and also this very substantial reform of DIPA, for which we have made also available lots of money from the EU, but that's very good news, but the work needs to be done here. So thank you very much.